Hello, I am Latrice and I am all over the place. So I like to talk about makeup and I love movies. So I want to do my makeup while talking about movies and reviewing movies. Why are you doing this? I don't care about that. So I am Latrice and this is all over the place. I love makeup and I love movies. So I'm going to be doing my makeup while going over movies and reviewing movies. So lots of spoilers. I want to go into everything that happened in the movie that I can remember. I saw not Into the Spider Verse, Spider Man Across the Spider Verse that came out. I want to say Thursday, Friday. Last week is Sunday right now, and I saw it yesterday for the first time. I want to see it again because I missed a little bit. So I'm going to go over everything that I saw and remember and what I think about the movie. First off, spoiler alert in case you don't want any spoilers about the actual movie. I loved it. Out of 5 stars, I will give it 4, and that's only because of the ending. Um, Up until the ending, it was perfect. I just didn't like the very end of it. So I will go into the whole movie, but like I said, if you just want to know what I thought about it overall, 4 out of 5 stars, I will give the whole movie. It's pretty good until the end. So this is a sequel from Into the Spider Verse. Let me start putting my makeup on. I already put my moisturizer and stuff on. So let me get started. So the movie starts out pretty much how the last one ended. We Miles has been Spider-Man for, I want to say he said 6 months. I can be very wrong. But it's been months. So he's kind of grown into it. He's gotten taller. Um, he's um, fought a bunch of people on his own already. He's gotten pretty used to it and having a lot of fun. But he's, of course, still a high school student and he needs to be thinking about what he's doing after high school and where he's going to apply, what he's going to do after high school. And he's not handling his business like he should be because he's Spider Man and he's running off doing all of these Spider Man things. And his mom and dad, of course, doesn't know still. So I want to say this happened before we got to what's happening with Gwen Stacy. I might be wrong, honestly. But this guy called the Spot shows up, and the Spot seems like a pretty inept villain. He's like this big white guy with black blotches on himself. I am not a comic book person. I just seen all the movies, um, and I've never seen this one before. This villain before. So you think, just like, they set it up for you to think that he's going to be just, a one off. Peter, Miles Morales, this Spider Man in this universe, is going to just take care of him real quick, or, it'll be over with quickly. But he has this ability to, like, throw these spots, and if you fall in it or if he goes in it, he can disappear, come out another place where the spot will appear somewhere else. So Miles is fighting this guy. He at first is just trying to rob an ATM, and bodega, and Miles go in there. He starts to fight him, and it's not as easy as he thought it was gonna be because this guy doesn't really seem to have control over his powers at all. But he sees Peter. They start to fight, and he basically tells Peter it's his fault that he is what he is. And it turns out that he was in the first movie, but of course, is one of those, he was there all along. We just didn't see him. He was like a background character. And because of what happened with the explosion with the glider, he became the Spot. And he was like a scientist or something that worked with Dr. Octavius. And so he becomes the Spot. And of course, he's this weird looking thing with this weird power. So he can't have a job. He can't live a normal life. He's a criminal now. And so he is blaming Miles. I keep wanting to say Peter. He's blaming Miles for what his life has become. No, you don't even know what you want. No, you better not. No. Go out there if you want to play, if you want to run around. Run around. So Peter's Miles' parents is at his school. They're having some sort of conference with the counselor about what he's going to do, how he's going to apply college and what his goals are. But he's not there. He's busy fighting the spot guy. Are you for real? Better run, weirdo. Yeah, I see you still. So Miles shows up late. He thinks he catches it. He caught the spot dude. He tied him up with his spots and his webs through all these different holes that he created. The spot dude created, and he goes to the meeting and he tells his mom and dad he wants to go to this school that's in New Jersey. I forget which school. It's a really good school. He wants to study interdimensional sciencey stuff. I don't know if that was said at all in the first movie. I think because of what happened to him in the first movie, he became interested and he wanted to figure out how to see Gwen and the other Spider-Man again. So that's why he wanted to now get into science and try to figure all that stuff out. And that seems cool. Um, but of course, he realizes that the spot has somehow gotten loose, so he has to go after him again. And his dad, of course, is a cop. He gets a call about the spot dude, and they both end up, going after him. Of course, his dad doesn't know who he really is, who the Spider-Man really is. Sorry, my cat is going crazy right now. Um, he doesn't know who he is. Doesn't know who this new Spider-Man is, of course, and they have kind of a talk. And the dad's kind of saying like he feels like he's messing up no matter what he does, and Miles tries to you know make him calm down and tell him that he's doing a good job or whatever. His dad is being promoted to captain, and so eventually Miles goes back to doing his Spider-Man stuff, and his dad is having a party at the house on the rooftop. A bunch of people are there, and Miles is supposed to be bringing the cake. Miles keeps getting caught up. He's late. He's getting the cakes. The cakes get messed up by the time he gets home. And of course, he's late, and his parents are like, "Why are you so flaky? Why aren't you ever where you're supposed to be?" Miles can't tell them the truth. Very um, basic Spider-Man. I got secret identity. I can't tell my family who I am thing. They get into a big argument. He gets grounded. Um, so Gwen comes into it, and again, I'm not sure if her part was first or second. I kind of think it was first, but it's Miles' movie. Um, when we do actually see her in her universe, and her universe is not very different, but the art style is very cool. It's very different. It's like watercolors, and within a scene, the colors will change as people are talking. And I don't know if that's supposed to be their emotions, her emotions only, her emotions only, or everyone's emotion, or if this is just something we're seeing and it's not really happening and it's just an artistic take. But it seems to me like that's her universe. The colors just change. It doesn't matter. One minute her hair is pink and the next is blue. Um, like the colors of the whole room will change um, mid conversation, and it just doesn't like no one's saying anything about it. It just seems to be the way it is in this universe. Um, a lot more. Um, so Gwen is having a hard time. She's trying to play in her band, but she's not really into it. She's just kind of in her own world. She doesn't have a friend. We kind of see the backstory of how not how she became Spider Gwen, but what happened to her Peter. Her Peter was like the other Peter Parker's like a quiet little nerd guy. Gets bullied, so he takes the serum that becomes the lizard guy. I don't know what his name was, but he turns into a lizard, attacks the dance that they were going to. He attacks Dance and they fight, and something falls on him and he dies. And her dad shows up because he's a cop. Her dad is a chief in her universe too, and he for some reason assumes that she killed that Peter in that universe. Curse, her father doesn't know she's that spider person in their universe. But still, I don't get the whole why would you think that the person who runs around saving people all day would just murder some random person for no reason. I understand if he didn't see that Peter had become this, laser person that was attacking people, but there had to be witnesses. There are kids at this function, at this dance before Gwen showed up in her spider costume to fight him. So people saw what he was and what he did and why Gwen fought him at all, even if he didn't know the whole story. It's like I don't get how he could still come to the conclusion that Gwen murdered Peter, or a Spider Gwen murdered this Peter, and that she's a villain and needs to be caught. I understand if they don't like the vigilante part, but why would this vigilante who is saving people and fighting back people become a murderer out of nowhere? Why would you just assume that? I don't get. Again, witnesses would have been there to say he did this and that's why she fought him. But we don't get any of that. He just assumes that this spider person is a murderer and needs to be arrested. So, you know, they talk, and obviously there's this disconnect between the two because she has a secret, and her dad, of course, hates this spider person who he doesn't know is his daughter. And there it becomes this thing at the museum in town. I don't remember what it was, but she goes to the museum. The dad gets called to the museum. There's a some sort of monster situation. So I forget what they called it. I don't know if it was like a metahuman or something, but they called it something in this movie. And so he goes, the dad goes, she goes, and it's this vulture person who looks more like a Vinci sketch. It's really cool. It's really cool how when the different people from different universes come together, how you see the different art styles being used together. Because normally in most movies you don't see that. You just see one art style the whole movie. So that's always been cool. That was a really cool thing from the first movie. Miles Morales movie looks like a comic book with the little dots and the sketching. It's just not super detailed like a lot of animated movies. It's I don't know. It's kind of like a sketchbook come to life or a comic book come to life. But like I said, Gwen's world is more like watercolor. It's kind of weird. It's cool, but it's kind of weird. And this vulture from this other universe comes in there and he's flying around. He's confused. He was in his universe and got pulled into her universe. And so that's confusing. Like, why is this happening now? Uh, it's kind of a question that's being asked. And so she's fighting him, trying to find out how this happened. And of course, the police trying to stop her from stopping him, even though usually she would probably be, know, more successful dealing with this kind of a person than the cops would be, instead of the cops just shooting and killing people. But whatever. She's in there. She's trying to save everybody, even though why are there still people in this museum? After this guy started messing up, and there was like a bomb as soon as the cops came to the scene. I don't understand why there were still people in the museum. Like there were so many people that needed to be saved by the end of the whole fight. So she's fighting him. The cops are in there doing stuff, trying to like stop her instead of stopping the vulture dude. And I just look so ashy. I'm not changing. Okay, maybe it's the light. I don't know. So Gwen is fighting the dude, and then this other Spider-Man shows up. He is from another universe, and he is trying to fight this vulture dude. I'm trying to see what's his name is, if I can pull that up because I don't remember. I know the dude is voiced by Oscar Isaac, but he says what universe he's from, and there's been an anomaly since what happened in the Spider Verse, where all these different people, um, Spider-Man, and I'm assuming, of course, villains are going into different universes. Spider-Man 2099, voiced by Oscar Isaac, and he is all business. He does some wisecracking, but he seems super serious about what he's trying to do, and he seems to be kind of mad at Gwen. And Gwen is, of course, confused and want to understand who this dude is and why he has this technology, and she's excited because now that means if there's technology for someone to come from another universe, you might be able to see who is you. What is this? Sorry, I'm trying to look at information while I'm talking because I'm recording this on my phone, so I can't look at info on my phone. So Gwen decided she can maybe, see not Peter, Miles again. And she's super excited about this. And they fight the dude. At some point, they get out of the museum. There's a helicopter. The helicopter crashes into the museum. Gwen is the mastermind about how they're going to stop this. They seem to understand each other. Oh, another spider person comes in. A spider person. I don't know her name, but voiced by Issa Rae, Jessica Drew. She comes in. She's another spider person. She's a black woman on a motorcycle, and she's pregnant, which is funny. And she's cool, and Gwen likes her, and Gwen is like, can you adopt me? She just seems to like Gwen, and they get along, and she's trying to tell this other dude, we should, you know, add her to the team. And Gwen is super curious and wants to understand, but he's like, no, no, no. He's not really having it. He doesn't want to invite Gwen to this. And we don't find out why until much later. Because he tries to make it seem like it's just a few spider people in this situation that knows about this multiverse and is going around helping other people deal with the different villains that are jumping through versus somehow, some way. So, so they fight. They get this Vulture dude wrapped up. The dad comes in, and the dad um, corners Gwen at gunpoint and wants to arrest her for the murder of her Peter Parker. She's trying to talk to him. He doesn't want to listen. He, keeps the gun on her. She takes off her mask, exposing herself. He still wants to arrest her and still basically thinking she's a murderer, which makes no sense again. But he still wants to arrest her. The other Spider-Man puts this thing around him, trapping him inside this red cubic bubble technology thing that he has, and basically invites Gwen to go with them because, in her world now she is accused of murder and her dad isn't listening, so she's screwed and alone. So they take pity on her and she goes with them. And then I think that's when we go to Miles' story with him and him. You have food and water out there, and a whole living room, and a whole window to go walk at. He wants attention, but he doesn't want attention. So, like I said, then we go to Miles' story, and he's fought the Spot Dude. The Spot Dude, I don't know if I said what happened with this fight. So the Spot Dude ends up tripping on one of his own feet because his foot went through a spot that he threw out there, and he ended up falling into his own spot, and it seems like he's just gone. But some of his spots are still kind of hanging out, and then they start disappearing and stuff. And that's when Miles, as Spider-Man, talks to his dad. Um, but yeah, so he seems to think that that's over, but it's not. Why is this so gray on me? Okay. So Miles has the fight with his parents, and he's grounded because he's been so flaky lately, and he's not telling his parents what's going on, and they don't understand what's going on, obviously. And he goes to his room, and that's when Gwen shows up from the other portal, like at the end of the other movie. But it seems different. He seems to be, yeah, it seems like they didn't really make it match what happened at the end of the first movie when she shows up. But that's okay. It doesn't matter. She's there. They talk. She's really not there for him. She's really there because of the Spot dude. And she's supposed to be watching him and dealing with him. And she doesn't. She's talking to Miles instead. She does put some sort of, I don't know if it was a tracker or just a camera at where he was while they were both Spider-Maning around the town. She sees where he's at, where his like hideout is, and puts something there to keep track of the dude. And she goes on with Miles, and they hang out. They don't kiss. Miles kind of tries to touch her hand, and she basically says it's not going to work out, so he moves away. I'm not sure about the age difference with these two. I think in the last movie they said there was like a 15-month difference between the two of them. But she seems so grown in this movie. He's 15, and they should have just said he was 16, 17. Maybe they just want to keep him a teenager longer so they can keep him a little kid instead of like the other movies where he's basically a grown up now. But he, what am I doing? I feel like my foundation looks so ashy.